That's weird. That is freaking weird. Because Twitch is saying we're off. Oh wow. Huh. Well,
Yeah, we're not live right now on Twitch.
which is weird because Twitch is saying we've been on for 30 minutes and going strong, but we just went. So I'm hoping. Uh, that's a bummer. But we are definitely live now.
Oh yeah, no, we were going for like 15 minutes and then it cut off.
Oh no.
It looks like.
Well, YouTube is gonna be fine because I can do something about that. But Twitch is I can't do nothing about that because we don't have that.
We don't have the permissions.
Basically, so that's a bummer.
Ah, boo.
But
Boo.
regardless, so
Boo.
yeah, OBS looked like it was for some reason. OBS looked like it was not open. And I might have closed it by mistake in thinking it wasn't open, and that might have thrown some stuff off. And
this is what happened, ladies and gentlemen, when we record on an off day.
Yeah, well, to be fair, we've had worse happen on an on day, so that's so basically, hopefully, folks have heard that, and if you missed that whole conversation, it would hopefully still will be on. Hopefully we didn't lose part of it. Let's just say.
Right. I mean, bottom line is you can if you missed it on the video and you're tuning in now, you're okay. You didn't get spoiled. But if you're coming in on the audio, make sure that if you're just listening now, you hit the right point where we're not going to hit anything more spoilery about Eternals. So you've got a chance to go watch it.
Yeah, and well, the audio version is going to be fine either way because so regardless. We're just gonna keep on trucking and hope for the best. That kind of sucks. I was like, I wonder, it's like, why am I seeing what I'm seeing? Because it was saying it was live, but they were also saying it was offline. So I was like, what the fuck? All right. Anyway, we're going to pretty vastly wrap up this discussion of Eternals by saying enjoyed it. We enjoyed it. I think it's safe to say that we both enjoyed it.
Yes.
If you do not have to be a Marvel fan, you do not have to be a comic books fan to see this movie. I would go so far as to say, it is a beautifully shot movie. Check it out if you feel like it, if you can.
Oh, now I remember what I wanted to say. I apologize.
Oh,
because you mentioned something about going in cold in the sense that you don't have to know anything about these characters at all, right. Even if you are a comic book fan like we are, right? Mm-hmm. The one thing I thought of that crossed my mind, just and I'll leave it with this. I hope our fans of the show, viewers and listeners of the show, are not expecting this to be a laugh fest the way Guardians was, because it's not played that way. Right. It is kind of a serious movie. That's what I mean by that. Mm-hmm. And one of the topics of discussion that I brought up amongst our group at the theater was, I asked them, I said, what were you expecting? And I hope you weren't expecting a Guardians a take on these characters, because this is not James Gunn. And the director was definitely going for something completely different with the story that they were trying to tell, and the writers. So I feel like comic book movies have played the more or the lesser known characters for comedy as a way to compensate for them being lesser known. For example, Guardians and both versions of the Suicide Squad.
Ant-Man.
Yes, but in terms of the group, I'm thinking more of a group. Sure. Because they can play Ant-Man off as, because that's more of a character, that's more of a character-driven movie, because they're really focusing on one character in the beginning, and then they branch off into two and more. Sure. But in terms of setting up a group movie, they use humor as a a means to an end to try to help establish a connection with these characters that don't have much of a connection with people on a cultural level, on a higher level. You know, and I hope that most people weren't expecting that when they sat down to watch Eternals. You know, and I think maybe that's, you know, and I think maybe that's one of the reasons why this movie is catching a little bit of criticism, because maybe the critics weren't expecting that, and it threw them off.
Yeah, because like you said, this is definitely not more joke forward than some of the other Marvel movies have been. That is definitely for sure. But there's a couple of them in there, just, you know.
Well, Kumail Nanjiani gets to flex a little bit. He gets to flex some of the comedy chops.
Yeah.
You know, they throw a little bit by Ma Dong-seok's way. You know, he gets some comedy, but it's mostly Kumail.
Yeah. Oh, something else we talked about, and this will be my last point on it. Don't be surprised. There was a, we've talked about this already, but and without spoiling it, there's a couple of references. There's a reference to, let's just
the distinguished competition.
Yeah, I didn't want to say that, but yes, the distinguished competition in there that I found quite amusing, and also potentially well,
it creates an interesting situation.
Yes.
In the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yes. And you will know them when you hear them. That's all I'm gonna say.
There's three mentions of it too. Yes. So
now what they mean, if anything, in this universe, we don't know. But this is, and actually one of them you kind of heard in the trailer, I will say, or at least part of it. You didn't hear the whole thing, but you heard part of it in the trailer. That's all I'll say about that. Anyway, folks, that is that, and I'm slightly bummed about this video version because it looks like, yeah, whatever happened, that whole conversation might not even be in the video version.
Oh no!
Yeah. But we're going to push on and see if I can do about it later on, or see if YouTube may have caught more than I'm thinking I did. So we're going to push over to the talk about the comic books of the week.
Alrighty.
And we're going to start off with, definitely not that, the Death of Doctor Strange, Avengers #1.
The creative team on this book is as follows. This book is written by Alex Paknadel. The art is by Ryan Bodenheim. It is colored by Rochelle Rosenberg and lettered by VC's Corey Pettit. So this is one of the initial wave of Death of Doctor Strange tie-in books. And there is a reading guide at the end of the issue. And what we get in this is the very first. Is it the first wave? I'm looking at the reading checklist in a second.
Of the yes, because we had the two Strange, Death of Doctor Strange books, and then this is the first one. I believe this is the first one that is the tie-in.
Right. So this is the first tie-in that illustrates more deeply, in more detail, what some of the other heroes are dealing with in the wake of the death of Doctor Strange and this mystical barrier being taken down as a result of the death of the sorcerer of the Earth Sorcerer Supreme. And we get more insight into what has been happening in those first two Death of Doctor Strange books, that these magical creatures, these magical entities are actually fleeing something bigger than they are, like a bigger threat than they are. And they're actually looking for refuge on the Earth. And we start to see some of that being laid bare in this issue. We saw a little bit of it in the Death of Doctor Strange #2, but we're seeing more of it now in this issue.
Yep. And given that it comes after, so if you're in the reading order, there's been, like we just said, there's been two Death of Doctor Strange books. This comes slightly after the second issue of the Death of Doctor Strange. and also dealing with the fact that, hey, the Avengers got their clocks cleaned in their meetings with the big bads with part of the big bads of the story.
Right.
So they're kind of dealing with that, but also getting sent off on another assignment in relation to that, to which they have to suss out. And we do start off with a what I like to call a new old tale that that is basically between Iron Man and Doctor Strange, which ends up coming back into play later on in the story as these things want to do. That helps Iron Man and the well help. I'm not sure. Given the end of this issue, I don't know if that's help or causing things worse, because we still don't
Well,
necessarily know.
there's a cliffhanger, right? There's a cliffhanger at the end where we're not meant to completely understand it,
right?
And we'll see how this plays out in the upcoming issues that follow. I would say that one of the quality choices that Packnadell makes in this, and that I presume the creative teams that help guide the first two issues of Death of Doctor Strange and this issue, by incorporating the kind of traditional big three of the Avengers and tacking Captain Marvel on as well, giving them a pretty powerhouse quartet. This is not Cap's kooky quartet. This is not the opposite, but definitely in terms of power scale wise is far on the other side of the spectrum. So when you're taking this group, pretty formidable on their own, and seeing them get, as Roddy Cat said, getting their clocks cleaned, it's meant to really elevate the stakes and really show us the level of power that these magical big bads, or at least these, maybe what we're seeing is the magical big bads minions, are already pretty formidable.
Right.
So this is not going to be a walk in the park for the non-magical heroes in the Marvel universe.
Right. And even within the Avengers dealings with magic in the past, they still have their issues with it, so especially the more science oriented ones of the group. Yes, that being Iron Man. Also, the funny part about this issue, and then we can go on to the next one, is that I'm slightly surprised they didn't pick up on that footprint way earlier than what they did. And the fact that who picked up on it at the time that they did, picked up on it when they did, because it's not like the first time the Avengers have gone up against a character with the same power set,
right?
Or or the like. So I was sitting like, wait. Now, granted, if you watch the cover, you can kind of get if you see the cover, as you can see here, you got to get a sense of who it is if you know your comic history. But still, I'm like, I knew who that was from. Well, actually, technically, you kind of get a sense of who it might have been, but you don't really get to, or at least what they're evoking anyway.
Right.
So that part was kind of funny to me. Outside of that, decent issue. So unless you got something else to say, we can move on.
No, I'm good. We can move on to the next Death of Doctor Strange book, and if you just allow me a second to click my way through to it, the next issue that the next book that we're working on, of 1 to 2 pages that cover.
Hold on a second.
Testing 1 2 3.
No, we're good. The OBS crashed.
Oh no!
It's back now, but like, what the fuck is going on? As far as I know, we were still going during that, but I want to. Well, actually, according to Twitch, we kind of hit a snag, but we're up and running again. I don't know what's going on with this thing tonight. But anyway, we're gonna truck along. We'll piece this together. We'll do something. Anyway, Death of Doctor Strange.
Strange Academy #1.
Strange Academy #1. Yes.
Right. What I was just mentioning very quickly before, I'll let Roddy Cat talk about the story. There are vignettes here, and one of the things that Roddy Cat was wondering aloud about was how the death of Doctor Strange event itself was going to be uh, portrayed in the pages of Strange Academy. Now we get a really direct answer. And the vignettes that I mentioned are, these 1 or 2 page vignettes at the end of the book cover various students that are not featured in the main story and their reactions and their situations that are that occur as a result of the death of Doctor Strange in the Marvel Universe. So I will let Roddy Cat take it away when it comes to the main story.
Hmm. Did you say the creative team? Sorry.
Yes.
Okay. So that's Doctor Strange. If you did not know, Doctor Strange has the Strange Academy where a bunch of uh kids that are related to other folks in the universe um are akin to, some would say, legacy. Who knows where to go at this point? But regardless, they get the news of Doctor Strange's death, which um which prompts the school to pretty much go into suspension until they figure out what's what to do. And obviously, with the magic barriers of the earth being as weak as they are, they don't want to, that kind of poses a problem for the school. So they tell the kids that Doctor Strange is dead. There's like, everybody's going to go home. Um and classes will reconvene when things get sorted out. This particular story, well, this particular main story, I should say, deals with two of the main group from Strange Academy, and that being the twins, Alvi and Iric,
Right.
who are Asgardian, and as we found out during the course of Strange Academy, whose mother is the Enchantress. To which I'm saying, because matter of fact, even when that revelation came about, I was like, wait, when did the Enchantress have kids?
Right.
Because obviously she is not Mother of the Year material, and they go through that in the course of this book,
Right.
in the course of this issue, quite a lot. But also we see a nice little endearing turn in this. That being said, so it cuts from, just like the Avengers book did. There's a supposedly old tale that's a new tale, um, that Doctor Strange has a dealing with in the Enchantress, uh, in relation to the kids, which ends up cropping back up in the present day, and causing a problem. And the Enchantress and one of the boys ends up, well, both of them end up getting involved, but end up sorting it out, and in a way bonding with the Enchantress at the end of this. So it made for a quite interesting story. And then the rest of the kids, including apparently a couple of new kids that I'm not familiar with, get like one page they're not necessarily stories, but you basically see them at home.
Right.
um
Yeah, I called them vignettes.
yeah,
Just a quickie scene setting story.
right. And you get to kind of get to see them at home, as I just say, in their little vignettes after the main story. So this was the
Mhm.
particular click of the week for me. I've always enjoyed Strange Academy, and this, as Agent 70 said, prior to the show, like, this is kind of one that's directly involved with both the Strange Academy and the Death Star Strange, um, outright.
Right, because I distinctly mentioned prior to the show, and I'll repeat myself here, is that I regret not pulling this book because I did not recognize that Scotty Young, the writer of Strange Academy, was also writing this Death of Doctor Strange tie-in. And we found in our recent experience that so long as the writer of the regular book is writing this tie-in, it's probably going to prove to be important in the long run with regards to how we it relates back to how it will likely relate more closely back to the main story in the main book. So I'm probably going to go grab a physical copy of this book to add to my collection, because I do pull Strange Academy. So, and I really like this issue. As Roddy Cat said, it was great to see all of the kids being accounted for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
And we get Toth, and we get the two Asgardian twins in the main story, and it all just kind of proved to be a well put together tale. And it was nice to see Del Mundo doing interiors again. I know that some of us struggled with his work when he was doing Weird World, but I enjoyed it.
And
You know?
Avengers, if you remember that one, because he did that.
Well, I
He
mean,
did
he did Avengers and Thor.
right. But yeah, I
Yeah.
slightly had. I love his art, but yeah, I kind of had an issue. I had a problem with it when he was doing Avengers, because it was like, while his art is great, it's a stylistic choice that's sometimes kind of doesn't work well on certain occasions. I thought anyway.
Sure. No, that's a fair criticism.
But that being said, let us swiftly move on to
I was about to say we could probably go rapid fire,
that's what
because
yeah,
at
that's what I'm
this
saying.
point all of
Yeah,
our books diverge. Yes.
right. Yeah.
We no longer have any books in common. So I am going to spin up the minigun and shout out to Jesse the Body Ventura.
I ain't got time to bleed.
Rapid fire, folks. Agent 70, why don't you go ahead and
Yeah, I've got fewer books. So let me run through the books that I've got. First is Batman number 116. It is written by James Tynion the fourth, with art by Jorge Jimenez, colors by Tomo Mori, and letters by Clayton Cowell. So we get some of our main protagonists and antagonists in this Fear State story crossing paths finally, basically finding themselves in the same room for the first time in this Fear State story. It's Batman and what's her face, Molly, Miracle Molly, I think is the name of that Unsanity Collective character. I'm gonna just kind of scroll through this and make sure I don't get that incorrect. We get Peacekeeper 1, and we have the Scarecrow, all basically coming to loggerheads during the course of this issue, and lots of shenanigans ensue. Ultimately, at the end of this issue, we find and there is a subplot where Poison Ivy has basically it's been revealed that Poison Ivy has had in essence of roots growing through the catacombs underneath Gotham City, and could legitimately bring it all crashing down as a result of these roots that have been growing throughout the underside of Gotham City. So this is it looks like this is the penultimate issue of Fear State, because it looks like the sign off is that it's going to be concluded in 2 weeks. So if you are keeping up with this Batman book, this is probably a crucial issue to catch up on. So make sure that you go grab this book, and we'll see how Tynion wraps up his Batman run with Fear State. Next up, and there is a backup issue with Spoiler and Orphan. So it was okay, but I've been ignoring these backup stories because to me the meat of the read is the main story. Next up for me is The Good Asian. This is number 6 of 10. This is an Image book. It's written by Pornsak Pichetshote, with art by Alexandra Tefenki, colors by Lee Luffridge, and letters by Jeff Powell. So we continue to follow the adventure or the misadventures of Edison Hark, the Chinese a police officer who's being repurposed as a private detective because he's working outside of his home jurisdiction of Hawaii. So he's investigating, the disappearance of someone, and now the murder of someone that was close to him as a child. And without completely spoiling who did it, there is a betrayal most foul in this issue. So If you're not keeping up with this, I actually recommend it because it is very interesting. There's lots of historical context that you can read up on that the writer does provide in notes at the end of the book, and they are well written. So I definitely recommend that you take a look at those beyond just at those pages and read beyond just the story pages. Um, it's also a great noir book. There's there's a couple of crime noir books on my list this week because of the relatively light offerings, the relatively few offerings from Marvel this week. The second crime noir book that I have on my list is New Burn #1. It's an image book. It's actually written by Chip Zdarsky with art by Jacob Phillips. There is a backup story with that's written by Nadia Shamas with art by Ziad Youssef, Ayub, and letters by Frank Cvetkovic. So the bottom line here is the pitch, behind the story is that um, the main character that we're following is a fixer. It's the character is a fixer who is essentially Switzerland between the remaining crime families in New York City. He is the person that the crime families go to address the problems that they're having with some of the other families so that they don't have to go to war and shed unnecessary blood and mess up all of their lucrative crime businesses. So the main character that we're following is definitely grayer than gray, definitely not directly smack in the middle of the gray area between the good guys and the bad guys, but we're definitely seeing some of the situations that this character might be subject to as a go-to fixer for characters and for situations like this where crime families are not necessarily warring but are trying to avoid wars and trying not to let small incidents blow up to the point where there might be where they might all be going to the mattresses. And if you're familiar with The Godfather, you know what that means. So this was a quality read. This is also, something that I thought about giving consideration to for potential click of the week. Last for me is The Human Target. It's The Human Target #1. It's from DC. It's written by Tom King with art by Greg Smallwood and letters by Clayton Cowles. Now, I confess, much like my approach to Eternals, I came into this pretty cold when it came to being familiar with the character. I am not familiar with the Human Target at all. As a matter of fact, I thought the Human Target had some superpowers. Apparently, the character does not, or at least in this iteration, does not have any powers at all. Simply someone who is able to put on a very effective disguise, may have some super tech powered masks, but other than that, basically presents themselves as literally a human target for someone they have been hired by who suspects that will have an attempt on their life. So the human target steps in and creates just that, a human target. There are twists and turns in this because what we learn is that the human target is not and is most definitely not invulnerable. Is the last of my books, and I'm going to hand it over to Roddy Cat. Who is apparently still working on our live stream issues. Everything okay, Roddy Cat? All righty, so it might be some time. It might be time for some background music, folks. Anything, Roddy Cat.
Sorry. I forgot I was on I was on mute for a second. Because I was actually just talking. But no, it's I don't know what's going on here, but so we're just gonna swiftly keep going because this is gonna be a headache and I'm not with it tonight. So, for myself, I'm going to go to Icona Rocket Season 1, Number 4, written by Reginald Hutton and Leon Chills, pencils Doug Braithwaite, inks by Andrew Curry, colors Brad Anderson, letters by End World Design. The basic gist of this one, like I said, this is a Milestone Returns, and this is basically a reboot of the Milestone comics series of the same name, Icon and Rocket. I think it's hitting some of the same beats as it did originally. Like I'm less familiar with this book as I am with Static, even actually somewhat even then. But I do know that. But you can, as I say in my notes, you can definitely say it's tell it's a reboot because Rocket says yeet. And the title is called Nuck If You Buck, which both are dated in different ways. Um, but Rocket, who is well, basically the short story is that like we come to find out that to a little bit more about this mysterious character who keeps coming in every other issue to Rocket and her mom. And we find out who this person is to a point and her mission. But we also find out that Rocket and Icon has caused a lot of trouble, and now someone or something's been sent after them because of that. So it's been the Milestones books have been pretty good reads so far, and this is if you are aware of those, I'm probably tempting fate by doing this, but I'm putting this up real quick. There's the cover. I don't think the cover's the issue here, but because whatever. But it's been an enjoyable read so far, and it's been going nicely. The next book is Teen Titans Academy number 7, written by Tim Sheridan, pencils by Rafa Sandoval, inks by Jordi Tarragona, colors by Alex Sinclair, and letters by Rob Lee. So the gist of this one is that after the events of the last issue, the kids were on summer vacation. They all went to this one lake, and come to find out that apparently there was a plot by Gorilla Grodd, who is related to one of the students, that was also going on at the same time. And it seemed at the end of the last issue that this relation was a part of the plot, but what we come to find out in this issue is not all is what they seem, and there's a little family drama and a scuffle, but it actually ends up being in a way slightly endearing at the end of it, in that. So I don't know. I've been liking Teen Titans to bootleg Strange Academy for kind of obvious reasons. If you know anything about the book, which is basically, hey, the Titans have opened up an academy for kids with superpowers and whatnot, and yeah, that's not unlike Strange Academy in a way. But it's still a pretty good read. So check that out if you feel inclined. Next book is Superman 78 number 3, written by Robert Venditti, art by Wilfredo Torres, colors by Jordi Belair, and letters by ALW's Dan Lanphier. So at the end of last issue, the folks of Metropolis, who have taken a shine to one Superman, decides to kind of help our dude out because Brainiac came down to supposedly save them from this Kryptonian menace in a way. And Superman, being Superman, was like, no, y'all don't need to do anything. Let me do this to save y'all, because the normal folks are getting out the pitchforks and being like, no, you can't take our Superman, blah 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 blah, this and that. So Superman gets taken by Brainiac, but not without Lex Luthor kind of coming in and giving Superman a pat on the back for reasons that we find out later on. Which if you know enough about comics and whatnot, you know what that will end up being. But after Superman gets taken, people are kind of depressed because Superman's gone or whatnot. Not really the people that are close to Clark Kent, however, don't recognize the fact that he's gone, or at least don't mention it. Because Lois Lane is like, oh, Superman's gone, and so is Jimmy Olsen, but they never say anything about Clark Kent not being around, which is kind of funny. Also, if the name of the title isn't apparent, this is set in the world of the '78 Superman movie, or after the events of the '78 Superman movie with Christopher Reeve. So it is set in that time frame, but also in the world of the DC Comics, because there's a couple of references to at least another known character that you see a sprinkling of mentions to. But lastly, there's a reunion that happens in the course of this issue that, if you remember Superman's history, probably shouldn't be happening. Put it that way. And if you know anything about Brainiac and his one of it, I guess his mission in a way, then the two of those meet in a weird way. So that's that. Next up is Star Trek: The Mirror War #2, written by Scott and David Tipton, art by Gavin Smith, colors by Charlie Kirchhoff, and letters by Neil Iwataki. So this is the Star Trek Mirror World Universe events. If you are familiar with the Mirror Universe from the television series that it's shown up in, then you kind of know a thing about it. But then again, you'd be a Star Trek fan anyway. And this is just an event that's going on in that universe because the crew of the Mirror Enterprise, as is now stated, has a plan hatched that they're kind of needing some funding and some whatever. So they're kind of dealing with the loss of one of the stashes, because apparently in this universe, the Earth is in the corner, and the bigger factions are like the Klingons and the Klingons, the Romulans, and everybody else. But the Terrans that they've known here or in this universe are backed into the corner. So Picard and crew are trying to fight back, but obviously they don't have much to go on because they don't have the resources. All they have is the Enterprise and their pirate mentality, basically. But in this issue, like I said, there's a through line that has like, hey, here's a person from a season 2 episode of Star Trek Enterprise in this mirror universe that they've had dealings with, and they have to kind of deal with that situation with the stash that Picard had that has now gone empty. At the same time, the Klingons are after the same crew for stealing a whole bunch of dilithium. And of course, who's the one giving chase? Mirror Worf. And we do see finally Mirror Universe Benjamin Sisko and crew, which if you've seen Deep Space Nine, they do venture into the Mirror Universe. So it is not surprising that they would show up at some point, but in the way that they do, and I'm sure they're going to they'll be they'll do a little bit more going forward in this in event. I'm not sure how many more episodes, more issues in this actually. Oh, also there is a very big reference to the first episode of Star Trek, the Next Generation, that happens in this book. And if you know anything about that that two-parter, you'll know what I'm talking about.
Was it Farpoint Station?
Yep.
Oh, I completely guessed.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that shows that or that particular entity shows up in this for a reason, which is kind of funny. Let's see. We did both of those. Winter Guard #3 is my next book. Written by Ryan Cady, art by Jan Bazaldua, color artist Federico Blee with Fernando Cifuentes of Protobunker, and letters by VC's Ariana Mayer. As I bring up the cover, boom, 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 boom. I'm tempting fate here, but I'm doing this for you folks because I love y'all. There is that real quick. Boom. So, the gist of this issue is that the Winter Guard and Yelena Bolova and the Red Guardian all get invited to, well, in a sense, all get invited to Dracula's castle because Dracula has something they all want. Obviously, the Winter Guard is after Yelena and Red Guardian. And they were looking for information on them too because they know that Dracula has had dealings with Red Guardian in the past. Red Guardian and Yelena was invited there because of some thing called the Snowblind data drive, which apparently they all know about, and it ends up being this big story that the Red Guardian goes through about that whole mission and the behind the scenes of that. So yeah, there's a little something going on here, and at the end of this issue, there ends up being a I call it a swerve. I don't even know if it's a swerve, but basically, something ends up happening to one part of this group, and which might kind of seem like a portrayal of the other person in this group. Let's just say. But and also I think there's some hints to, so we know that the Red Guard, the Winter Guard has been in the pages of the Avengers, and I believe this story is taking place before recent events because specifically Dracula seems to have some information on one particular group member. Well, has a lot of information, but one particular piece of info about one member of the Winter Guard that apparently they don't know about, which is the identity of this one particular person. And I don't think even with recent events and Avengers, we may still don't know. We may not know who that is, even though there may have been a clue to it. So that's something may or may not be visited at some point, or who knows. But there is that. Last but not least, Star Wars number 18, written by Charles Soule, art by Ramon Rosanas, colors by Rochelle Rosenberg, letters by VC's Clayton Cowles. I think I said this in my notes, but I probably shouldn't have read this.
That Slimer mucking up our works. Yes, I definitely jumped over to Ghostbusters.
Yeah, I see that.
I left the Gremlins references behind just for a hot second.
And we seem to be back.
Guess who's back? Back again.
So yeah, Star Wars 18. So no, to answer your question, AJ said, it's just that it's not necessarily that it's out of sequence. It's more like I have not kept up. I've not read the stuff prior to this.
Gotcha.
And this issue pretty much talks about something that happened that I have not read.
Yikes.
But it kind of doesn't matter because let's just say that what I did read in this is kind of putting everything back on track with what we know with what we will see in the movie.
Okay.
In the movie that is going to be set after this. So it seems like this event is coming to an end, although it looks like the next issue is still going to be a tie-in with this thing. Mm-hmm. So and I know there's some other stuff like there's a whole nother event that's coming up with the Crimson Dawn, which this event also has a whole lot to do, because even the crux of this issue is basically the aftermath of something that happened, which I won't go into, that a few people are kind of having emotions about. But then there is a nice little discussion between, I'll just go ahead and say, Leia and Kira in the course of this issue about said thing. Like I said, that kind of puts everything back on course to the movies that we know, which we knew was going to happen, because even what's been happening has been like, okay, they can't really go too far away, because they can't really do anything that's going to set them away from what happened in the movies, because obviously they have to get back to that, and looks like it's starting to do that. So there is that, and I would put up the image of the cover, but we're already tempting fate as it is. And that being said, that is it for me, and we can go to clicks of the week.
Clicks of the week.
So my apologies, folks. Well, I mean, it's not like I do whatever's going on with OBS tonight is really wrapping it up the bed. But so
yeah, we're definitely gonna be running updates and whatnot. We know that there was a Skype update, at least on the Mac side, that I had to apply tonight. So we're going to double check that before we hit the sack tonight once we sign off.
Well,
but we have our clicks of the week coming in, and I have mine because it was, as we acknowledged earlier, this was a relatively light week of books, but we definitely gave some of the books that from other publishers a shot this week. And it's fair to say that I dove deep into the crime noir section of that pool, and I enjoyed it. I've been keeping up with the Good Asian, and I thought that New Bern was a solid entry into that into a part of that genre, at least. But for a click of the week, my pick has to be Death of Doctor Strange, Strange Academy #1, because I thought it was a quality story.
I agree. It very much was. Like I said, I mean, Strange Academy is not has been a consistently good book for me. I don't want to speak for Agent 70 about that, but I think it's safe to say we've both enjoyed the regular book.
Yeah, and we've been keeping up with it, so
exactly.
It was nice to see this be a really direct tie-in into both the event and the main series.
Right. And on that note, I think I am,
or the main ongoing series, that is.
Yes.
I don't want to confuse the two, the actual limited main series for this crossover. So it was nice to see that this is tying directly into both that limited series and the ongoing Strange Academy.
Exactly. And on that note, I am going to co-sign on that click of the week by making it mine also. Because yes,
cool.
Yeah, it was probably it's safe to say it was pretty much the best read I've had this week. Given everything, and there was some decent stuff, but there wasn't a whole lot of books out this week. So, but that was definitely a good book. We do have,
it definitely gave us a good chance to, as I said earlier, kind of branch out a little bit this week.
Indeed. And on that note, I guess we do have one more click of the week from Tim, which was Dark Knights of Steel #1, which is the new wait, is that Tom Taylor?
I'm not sure.
Hang on, let me
I'll check.
Yeah, I have it right here. Yeah, Tom Taylor, and I forgot who the name of Putri is. But yeah. Oh wait, Tom Taylor did that Humans. Wait, no, it's Tom King. I'm mixing up my Toms, but yeah.
Right. Yeah. So the Dark Knights of Steel book is written by Tom Taylor. Art and colors are by Yasmin Putri. Letters by Wes Abbott, and those are the main credits.
Hey, Babette. So yeah, that was something like I said before the show that I was going to skim through, and I probably will, even though it feels pretty much like I don't want to say a standard Tom Taylor fare, but that's kind of not being fair to Tom Taylor or anyone else on the creative team. But yeah, the name kind of evokes the thing, and there you go. That being said, folks, we are going to go swiftly into the news section, but first an ad read.
Our first ad read of the night is for Blue Apron. Blue Apron's meal delivery service. Fresh ingredients and incredible recipes delivered weekly to your door. Skip the grocery store and make incredible meals at home with Blue Apron. Always shipped free right to your home. And now the listeners of the Comic Book Chronicles can get $30 off your first Blue Apron order. To place your first order with $30 off and to help keep our show free for you, go to our network website at cspn.us. That's cspn.us. Then click on the Keep Our Podcast Free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down to the Blue Apron link and sign up for your first order. Blue Apron through cspn.us. Do it today. And now we get into the news.
And as we do every week, we get into the cinematic news first. Cowboy Bebop character posters feature adorable Ein and more. So yeah, this is basically a story about the upcoming Netflix series, live action series Cowboy Bebop. Which, by the way, if you have not seen the original series, it is also on Netflix now. Or the original anime, I should point out. So and you might want to before going into this if you haven't already, because it's good stuff. I know Agent 70 has checked it out already, or before it hit Netflix. But so yeah, but basically there's some character posters that we've gotten. If you're watching the video version, which I'm not sure if I can recommend this week, but nevertheless, you can see said character posters. There's Faye Valentine's, there's Vicious, Julia, there's Ein, and that's just like that's it. And I'm sure there's some more for Spike and Jet, and that's probably it. Because I don't think we're getting Ed in this first season. Next up.
All right, next up. So only 3 episodes remain for the 6th and final season of the CW's Supergirl. But do not expect the series finale to be the last time you see Melissa Benoist, or Benoist actually, in a red cape. Chatting with Entertainment Weekly about her time spent on the Arrowverse project, Benoist admitted she's, quote, not opposed to putting on the suit again, and she knows there probably will be opportunities to do so, unquote. It wouldn't be much of a stretch to bring Kara Danvers back for a reunion with her Kryptonian cousin Clark Kent, played by Tyler Hoechlin, currently raising 2 sons alongside Lois Lane, played by Elizabeth Tulloch, in Superman Lois. So, we are in the home stretch of the CW Supergirl.
Indeed. I think slightly off of the comic book beat, but some fun nonetheless. John Woo returns to Hollywood to direct no dialogue action movie with Joel Kinnaman.
Did you skip the James Wan story?
Did I skip the James Wan story? I certainly did. So let me go back.
I was about to say, do the John Woo. I'll do the James Wan story.
Okay.
You already read the whole the whole story. So I mean the headline.
Well, the gist of it at the very least. So yes, John Woo. John Woo, I'm going to say of The Killer, A Better Tomorrow. Some people say Face Off. Screw that movie. But John Woo has done way better movies. Mission Impossible 2 being one of them. I will say, I know, Fight Me. Anyway, he is coming back to Hollywood to direct a apparently it says here this is his first movie his first Hollywood movie in 20 years. Oh yeah, Hard Boiled is also another good movie. But anyway, it says he's been doing features in Hong Kong, but it's been revealed that he will be directing a new U.S. action movie called Silent Night with Joel Kinnaman of the Suicide Squad, because apparently his story in that is no longer relevant. I guess spoiler alert. I don't know for that. So it says here that Wu is taking an interesting angle with Silent Night, as it will reportedly be a loud action tale that's completely free of dialogue, but probably filled with gunshots, breaking glass, and other action movie racket, and probably a bunch of doves, knowing John Woo. But we'll see. So that, of course, means Wu will have to rely on his unique brand of visual storytelling to keep the viewers hooked on what's happening from beginning to end. Joel Kinnaman will also have this task of using nothing but his movements and facial features to convey what needs to be said, but not out loud with every scene. Joel Kinnaman is a very weird choice for an action movie. Now, yes, I don't know. I mean, outside the only way I know him is the Suicide Squad movies. So whatever else he's been in, I guess. It is what it is. But that's an interesting choice for an action movie person. I guess we'll see what happens with that. Let's see, doesn't have a release date, but the news of return, yeah. So we don't have a release date, but it's coming at some point. So I guess look out for that whenever it happens.
All right, next up, way back in 2019, there were rumors swimming around that James Wan, coming off the success of Aquaman, might be fishing in the depths of the Atlantean world to create a smaller scale horror spin-off based on the creatures who appeared during the underwater trench sequence. So at the time, some fans were cautiously optimistic about this. We had our doubts. But we did end up discovering earlier this year, 2021, that the Trench movie was in fact canceled. And what we ended up finding out recently, last week, was that James Wan posted to Instagram under his handle Creepy Puppet a photo of Black Manta's new helmet, highlighting the new costume design for the upcoming sequel, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. When a fan commented on the post inquiring if Wan would be willing to direct a Black Manta series on HBO Max, like how John Cena got a spin-off for The Peacemaker, Wan didn't exactly answer the fan, but he did respond by saying, "I'll let you in on a secret." He wrote on Instagram, the canceled Trench spin-off movie was really going to be a secret Black Manta movie. So yeah, that's no big surprise.
Dun, dun, dun.
That was no big surprise to me. I was like, you know what? That's a perfect way to supplement kind of a movie that really didn't deserve to exist.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I guess so. That to tie it to something that does,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it makes sense. But hey. Also, you said Atlanta. I'm like, no, that's another creepy thing. If you've seen the recent teaser trailer for season 3, but
yeah, I have no idea why that slipped out. I'm exhausted. That's one of the big reasons.
Fair enough. Keanu Reeves helps crew move equipment in a viral John Wick 4 set video. Yeah, this is not very much new, but I thought this was fun. So, all right, there we go. We are live again there. Sorry about that, folks. But yeah, so yeah, this was a nice little story. Like I said, John Wick 4. I am not editing a lot of this out because I'm tired. But Reeves was spotted during moving some stuff with the crew for John Wick 4, showing that Keanu Reeves is probably the nicest guy in the world. I guess that's the implication here. Next up,
some Doctor Strange 2 merchandise may have confirmed a major multiverse of madness villain. So artwork for a 1,000-piece puzzle set seemingly confirms that the interdimensional being known as Shuma Gorath, who a lot of us were really first introduced to in Marvel Superheroes, the Marvel video game, fighting game by Capcom. And Shuma Gorath will apparently serve as a major antagonist in the Doctor Strange sequel. The box art also features illustrations presented to the cast and crew of the project when filming wrapped in April, featuring Doctor Strange and his allies Wong, America Chavez, and the Scarlet Witch. Okay.
Black Panther, Wakanda Forever halts filming after Letitia writes on set injury. So I think we may have talked about this a little before. That she
Right, but there's definitely this is some newer information because
Exactly.
you're about to go into how long this might last.
Yes, because it seems that her injuries were a little bit more severe
Extensive.
than we thought. Yeah, exactly. Well, not severe, but yeah, extensive than we thought. So according to the Hollywood Reporter, as we just said, Wright was injured during a sequence involving a stunt rig back in August, and she's been recovering in London while the filming continued without her. However, director Ryan Coogler said is said to have shot all the footage available that doesn't include Wright, and so production must wait until she can return to the set. According to Hollywood Reporter, Wright's caricature was elevated as the lead, which is not a surprise. So we don't necessarily go too much far into that, and stuff is still under wrap. But basically, the gist here is that, yeah, sounds like her injuries were a little bit more than what was initially reported. So hopefully she gets better soon, and they'll continue filming. Next up.
During an interview for the German outlet FAZ, in which he spoke about Wes Anderson's The French Dispatch movie, Hollywood legend Bill Murray casually revealed that he's actually part of Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. In a translation of the interview via Variety, Murray said he's, quote, not interested in these huge comic book adaptations. However, he took the gig on Quantumania because of director Peyton Reed. As Murray explains it, quote, I got to know the director and really liked him very much. He was funny, humble, everything you want from a director. Basically, Murray goes on to say the director's a good guy, and now he's at least tried out what it's like to shoot a Marvel movie, but he doesn't think he needs that experience a second time. That's fine.
Yeah. I'm like, I don't know. Bill Murray did Garfield, so you gotta weigh that out.
Right, but that was so many years ago now, so there's other things in consideration now.
Sure.
Other factors to consider, at least.
Yes, like him needing a check.
Cranky old people.
Yeah, there's that also. Anyway, next up. Marvel.
I was about to say, not that didn't stop Anthony oh my god, Anthony Hopkins from getting the bag.
Actually, yeah, that actually reminded me of something we were talking about with the that I was going to mention in the Eternals thing, but it's not worth getting into right now. Marvel rumored to have cast Jim Carrey as MCU's MODOK, apparently. So this is coming off of Reddit, so definitely take this with the biggest grain of salt. The moderators of our Marvel Studio Spoilers shared a bunch of rumor details about several of Marvel and its upcoming Disney Plus shows and TV shows and movies, including some of which we will not get into here. You can read the article for yourself in our show notes if you so pleased to do that, because we don't know if none of this stuff is true. But basically, like I said, it says here that Jim Carrey has already been cast as MODOK and could appear as early as the She-Hulk series, if that is the case. And that's all I'll say about that.
Right.
Next.
And you would think there might be a conflict because there is a previous MODOK from the Hulu show.
Correct.
Well, what we found out this weekend is that character has something else going on in the MCU. That actor.
Indeed. But it doesn't mean that this character couldn't do that here. But yeah. It could potentially put a hinder. I mean, it could potentially put a hinder to that for that reason.
Exactly. All right. Next up, last summer, word broke that Marvel Studios was looking for a Latino leading man to headline a Halloween special on Disney Plus. Now, The Wrap is reporting that Mexican actor Gael Garcia Bernal has been cast as Marvel's Werewolf by Night. However, it's unclear which version of the character Bernal will portray. It is likely the most recent incarnation.
Quite likely. Also, why did it look like Chris Pine in that picture? I do not know. But anyway. Doesn't matter. Star Trek Prodigy. Oh, geez, stop that. Star Trek Prodigy premiere streaming free for a limited time. So yeah, folks, the new Star Trek animated series has just premiered in the past week or two, I believe, and you can watch the premiere episode Lost and Found on YouTube in the United States for a limited time. But it's a Paramount Plus show, so if you're one of the 2 or 3 people that actually have Paramount Plus and as a Star Trek enough fan to go check this out, hey, go for it. Apparently it is a 47-minute premiere, excuse me, that is up on YouTube. So hey, that's enough to let you know whether you're going to be interested in it or not. It's an interesting take. I want to actually check this out because it's basically, hey, there's some aliens that or this ragtag team of alien kids that somehow get a hold of a Voyager class ship at some point, and there's a holographic Janeway. Take with that what you will. Seems interesting though. But yeah, that's the gist of it. And but it says here that the episode. Oh wait, what's today's date? Okay. The episode will leave YouTube on November 10th, which is a few days from now of this recording, because this is the 6th as of this recording. So if you're interested in that, you may want to go jump on that. And even by the time this gets out on audio, you don't have much time. Next up,
Hustle up. I was about to say we're going to transition over into comic book news now.
yes, we are. Power Rangers: The Eltarian War begins in Mighty Morphin 13, and there's a preview from this comicbook.com article, and I think that came out this past. No, it's next week. Okay. So yeah, there's a preview for this the next Power Rangers event, the Eltarian War, that is going on in both Mighty Morphin and Power Rangers comic book series, ongoing series now. Let's see, that particular issue is going to hit stores on November 10th, coincidentally. And like I said, this article has preview pages from that issue. So if you're interested in that, go check it out. Next up.
All righty, the Blood Syndicate, who's returning to Milestone's first superhero team. So this was one DC fandom tease, which hints at the violent Milestone team Blood Syndicate's return to the comic book publishing lineup, which includes several new and familiar faces. So this isn't a team like the Avengers or the Justice League. They're actually an outright gang who use their powers to take on rivals and defend their turf. Though they seemed like any other, quote, dark 90s team with blood in their name, there was much more to than the average vigilantes in their titular series by Ivan Velez Jr., Chris Cross, Sheriff Von Eden, and James Fry III. So, this article is basically just a listing of the various characters who have made up the Blood Syndicate in the past. So have a chance to, give yourself a chance to scroll through and read this and take it in prior to the introduction or reintroduction of this group in comics in 2022.
Indeed. Danny DeVito reveals first look at his Batman comic featuring the Penguin. So DC Comics has released a preview of the Gotham City Villains Anniversary Giant #1, showing off a tease of the Danny DeVito penned story Bird Cat Love. Obviously you know who Danny DeVito is. Oh, you should. If you don't, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, he's not just the guy in that meme that goes, "So I just started blasting."
Yeah, he's definitely not just the guy from that FX show. It's Always Sunny. Yeah, he played the Penguin in Batman Returns. Yada yada yada. We already know. Rhea Perlman's husband. Anyway, but yes,
I was about to say some of us go back to go back even further than that.
Taxi,
Let's
yes. If you are of a certain vintage, but anyway, he is he's writing a Penguin story, obviously a character he knows well enough. And he's writing a story featuring artwork by fan favorite Detective Comics artist Dan Mora, DeVito and DC have revealed the first look at this comic, as well as the variant covers that will be available for the one-shot when it debuts at the end of November. This article goes on to detail what other stories are going to be in said Gotham City Villains Anniversary Giant #1. So, and there's some names involved in here, so I might actually check that out. Yeah, if you're watching the video, which, like I said, is questionable at this point, you might be able to see some images from it. But hey, check the show notes regardless.
Next up, so Circuit Mess, a company has partnered with Warner Brothers to allow kids and parents to learn more about STEM and build their own Batmobile. Available for a limited time through Kickstarter, fans can spend between $99 and $159 to secure one of 3 awesome STEM kits that lets you build and program a remote-controlled Batmobile. It looks like an amazing project to do with your kids or by yourself. And you can, use the remote control. You can actually program the Batmobile to drive using AI. The Batmobile comes with several additional add-ons available at higher tiers, including a camera, dual-core processor, rechargeable battery, 4 metal gear motors, a speaker, Wi-Fi, lots of LEDs, and more smart electronics. Roddy Cat is going to scroll through this and show you some of the pictures that are included. One of the Batmobiles is kind of a twist on the Batman the Animated Series Batmobile.
Mm-hmm.
So they only show us the one. I wonder what are the other 2. They're probably going to pick a Tumbler, from the Nolan Batmans. I'm guessing.
Probably, or 66 Batman.
Oh yeah, that's probably it. Those are probably the other 2.
Yeah. Oh, it looks like a cool project though. I don't know if I'd do it, but hey, it looks pretty cool. Next up though, speaking of toys, Marvel Venom Poison Spider-Man Funko Pop exclusive is up for pre-order. Let's see. The latest Funko Pop exclusive comes straight out of the pages of 2017's Venomverse comic story arc from Cullen Bunn and Ibn Coelho. Excuse me. It involves Venom hosts from the multiverse taking on the poisons, creatures that feed on. Who cares? But here's the Poison Spider-Man Venom. Well, actually, technically, it's I guess it is Poison Man. I don't know because I never read the thing. But there's a pop for it. You can see the picture of it right there. It's $14.99 and set for release in January.
Next up, there is a new TMNT Funko Pop Px exclusive that comes straight from the comics. So there have been a lot of Teenage Mutant.
And we're back. Go for it.
Yes, we're back. So just to repeat myself, Funko Pops they're coming out with Funko Pops that are based on the comic book appearances of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, including the 4 Turtles, Shredder and Casey Jones. The pop figures are styled like the original Eastman and Laird comics, with the standard version in color and the Chase version in Indie Comics black and white. Interesting. These are priced at $14.99 each.
As Pops tend to do. Marvel teams up with Skydance's new media and interactive division for original action adventure game. Marvel Entertainment will join forces. Well, yeah, like I said. So apparently, actually, there's a funny thing I'm trying to pull up real quick. That's after this, but so last Friday there was an announcement. Friday before last, excuse me. There was an announcement by New Media's Amy Hennig, who some folks may know as the director of the Uncharted series for Sony. Then apparently she's at the head of whatever new games that's coming out of this collaboration with Skydance and Marvel. As a matter of fact, I'm going to take the next one because it's related to this. But before I do that,
by me.
Yes. But first, I'm just going to show this article that I first saw it. That says Uncharted director's new studio is making a Marvel game. But the thing to see here is the image that they use, which I thought was a pretty damn good troll by Rock Paper Scissors. It's so, like I said, Amy Hennig's doing a Marvel game. They put up if you're listening to audio version, you won't get this, but they put up a picture of DC characters, about the DC characters. In other words, the Justice League or parts of the Justice League. So that was kind of funny. But the next part of the story is that said Amy Hennig's game could be possibly Ant-Man or Fantastic Four if rumors are to be believed. So we don't know what this is, and apparently, according to the latest episode of Fat Man Beyond, co-host Mark Bernardin confirmed to Kevin Smith that he was involved as a writer on the as yet untitled Marvel project. Quote unquote, for most of the pandemic, I've been working with a woman named Amy Hennig, who created and wrote, who created and wrote. She was the leader on the Uncharted game, said Bernardin. They announced this week that the game we've been working on is in partnership with Marvel. That's all I can say, but I spent the better part of a year in the story minds coming up with a Marvel video game. So there is that.
Yeah, shout out to Mark Bernardin and Kevin Smith. I listened to this podcast, so I did catch wind of this story earlier.
Mm-hmm. I thought you might.
Although I did not know that it was going to be either FF or Ant-Man.
Right. And yeah, so we don't know the we don't know the gist of that, but we'll see when we get a little bit more information. Next up.
All right, so this is the new Marvel Iron Fist. We got a teaser, but is this character someone new or someone we already know? So the teaser that we got, it appears that the new Iron Fist title from writer Alyssa Wong, artist Michael YG, and colorist Jay Ramos will apparently introduce a totally new hero whose secret identity remains hidden behind a new Iron Fist costume designed by Jim Chung, who also recently redesigned Shang-Chi's comic book look. The 5-issue limited series follows Iron Fist, Heart of the Dragon, which concluded with Danny Rand giving up the power of the Iron Fist, seemingly ending the long line of heroes empowered by the Heart of the Dragon known as Shu Lao the Undying. But it seems that another hero will step into the role, complete with the Chi focusing power that comes with the mantle.
Yeah, I'm slightly bummed because it's not who I would have preferred it to be. Or I think, well, I'm not going to speak for Agent 70, but it's definitely, I can safely say it doesn't seem to be who I would have preferred it to be.
Sure, I understand.
Yeah. But we don't know who this is, so we'll see, I guess, going forward. Marvel's new Hulkling and Wiccan comic would warm the Scarlet Witch's cold, dead heart, which is slightly kind of funny. Because, yeah. So basically, I'm not going to get into too far in this, but there's a digital comic that just came out this week with Hulkling and Wiccan, and this article kind of goes into spoiler territory with that. But if you have Marvel Unlimited, I believe it is already on there, so you can check this out. And according to this, the tagline here, Marvel's new release is following in the Vision and Scarlet Witch romantic footsteps. So I'm guessing they're talking about the miniseries. So, if you're a fan of Wiccan and Hulkling, and you've already been keeping abreast of their goings on recently, this will add to that, I am sure. So, next up.
All right, last but not least, Prentice Penny keeps lining up post-Insecure work, that television show. The TV writer and producer who recently inked a pact to move his Penny for Your Thoughts shingle to Disney's Onyx Collective is also turning his attention to comic books. Partnering with Stranger Comics' founder Sebastian A. Jones, Penny is launching a yet-to-be-named joint venture to identify and support new talent in the independent comic book world, functioning as an incubator and development lab for BIPOC creators and their IP to find inroads to publication and adaptation to other mediums. Jones and Penny have already identified 2 projects. David Crownson's Harriet Tubman Demon Slayer, shout out to Tanjiro, and Jason Wise from creator Uraeus, both of which are already being developed for television. Okay.
Which is actually weird because I could have sworn we've talked a while ago, probably like at least a good year or two, about that Harry Tubman Demon Slayer, 1 being a thing and 2 coming to television. Or maybe that last part wasn't the case, but we have definitely talked about that particular project in the past. So cool.
Right.
So yeah, that is it, folks. That is the end of the news section, and we are rounding out the end of this here Comic Book Chronicles. First, one last ad read.
Our last ad read of the night is for Wink, the personalized wine club. Wink is a world of wine delivered right to your door. From rosé to Cabernet to Torronté, Wink has over 100 styles of wine to discover. Have you ever tried an orange wine? Wink connects you to a world of exclusive wines tailored to your taste and delivered directly to your door. Wink delivers 4 bottles of wine to you every month with free shipping. You can pick your own bottles or let Wink choose and match to your taste. It doesn't cost a thing to become a member, and you can skip or cancel anytime. And now the listeners of the Comic Book Chronicles can enjoy an exclusive discount of $20 off your first order. So place your first order with $20 off, and to help keep our show free for you, go to our network website at cspn.us/wink. That's cspn.us/WINC. Wink wines through CSPN. Do it today.
I could definitely use a stiffer drink after this here podcast. And that, folks, brings us to the end of this here show. We would like to thank you for coming out and all that kind of good mess. We will be back next week at our regular time because, hey, movie protocol is over with, and we have nothing until Spider-Man.
Right. I mean, we'll be talking about Hawkeye.
Well, yeah, but that'll be out before the show records, so that's not
right.
Yeah. Which, yeah, we definitely will be talking about that. That being said, I have been Radicat. You can find me at Radicat on Twitter. You can find me at News Nerd Studio on Twitter. You can find me at CBCaps on Instagram. Yeah, you can find Aegis_70 on Twitter and Instagram. PC_dirt on Twitter. PopCultureNet on Twitter. PopCultureNetwork.com is all his umbrellas therein. Tim DOGG98 on Twitter, the Osiris that is ish. You can also find him at CBCron on Twitter, which is the Comic Book Chronicles Twitter account. You can also find him at The Click Nation on Twitter. That's TheKliqNation. But you can also find him over at comicbook.com, where he's over there writing his face off. Definitely go check our man's out. He's busting up like normal. You can find this here podcast on the Coast of the Podcast Network. That's cspn.us.
Do it today.
You can also find us on the podcast personal place of choice, whether it be Google Play, Apple iTunes, or Apple Podcasts, as someone know it as, Spotify, or the Coast of the Podcast Network's SoundCloud page. You can also find us recording live every Thursday night, like I said, 9:30-ish p.m. on twitch.tv/theclicknation and sorry, scratch that. Twitch.tv/Comic Book Chronicles, but also the YouTube channel of the Click Nation. That's youtube.com/theclicknation. This particular episode may or may not be up there, or will be some kind of weird mashup. We will see if that pans out. But regardless, folks, thank you for being here. We will be back next week, like I said. Yeah, this has been the Comic Chronicles. Peace.
Peace. One.
You know it's half the battle.